Welcome to Hubs and Drivers, a podcast for building product marketers sponsored by BLD Marketing. I'm Jeff Donaldson, your host. On this episode, Hold the Phone, Customer Service in the Digital Era. Welcome. Instant messaging, social media, mobile apps. Customers of your building products brand have many ways to instantaneously provide feedback on your company and on its products. And that means receiving a customer complaint via phone is almost a relic of the past. Customers will turn to the internet to engage your brand, to provide feedback, and they're going to have an audience when they do so. Customer service in the digital era means being prepared to go where your customers go so you can respond to them and so you can protect your brand. Let's talk more about this with Dave Sladack, president of BLD Marketing. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Sure thing, Jeff.
It's a new age in many ways. Things have changed dramatically when it comes to customer feedback. So social media is often the preferred form of or the preferred forum for customer service issues, and it's driven by consumers in many ways. What happens when a building products brand kind of ignores that rule of engagement?
Yeah, and it's more than just social media. I would say it's just digital media in general, or just a digital response. And I think what happens is customers today, especially the millennial generation and the younger generations, they're digital natives. And we see it in our work environment, we see it in our social environment. Millennials don't like to pick up the phone and talk to people, okay? They like that digital access. But with that digital access comes an expectation, okay? And so whenever they have a problem with a product, maybe they bought a new AC unit for their home and it's not working right. Well, that's a pretty big risky item, right? So they put a lot of money into it, and the fact that it's not working and they're sweltering on a hot July day can really have a lot of ramifications. So the expectation they have is when they fill out a form, whether it's on social, maybe they're posting something asking for help, or even just a form for customer service via email, they're expecting results right away. The higher the risk in the product, the higher the expectation becomes. So it's really, really crucial for any brand, any building products brand, to have a very, very good response mechanism for customer service. Today, it's often revolving around social media, your response times on email marketing, and ratings and reviews.
Yeah. So if a brand does properly manage customer service issues online, how does it benefit them?
So let's go back to the ratings and reviews, okay? So the bigger the riskier the item, okay, or the purchase, the more a customer is going to, in advance of that purchase, look at ratings and reviews. And not necessarily looking at the number of stars. That's kind of a good indicator. But if it's a real big risky item like that air conditioning unit, they're going to read comments about other people's experience with that. So it's all listed there. And they have an expectation now when they decide to select your brand to purchase that product with, that expectation is, yeah, well, I've heard through those reviews that they really handle these certain areas well, and if there's a problem, they get right back to you. And they'll look in social media too, and they'll see positive reviews, they'll see negative reviews, and they'll weigh both. So it's really, really important. And when brands do have that very, very positive experience listed out there in social and on ratings and reviews, it really creates a much more influential buying process for the customer.
It's much more transparent. People have access to that information, and they don't have to pick up the phone to get it, and they don't have to interact with somebody necessarily by picking up the phone. It's all electronic, it's all digital.
Yeah, and even after the sale, it's really, really important. I'll give you a quick story, okay? So, I bought a basketball hoop for my daughter this past spring, and so I'm putting it together, and there are two main components, two big metal pieces on the pull that come together. There's actually three of them. Well, I put two of them in wrong, and then you have to tamp them down. So I couldn't get them apart, and it's a pretty heavy piece. So here I am thinking, it's kind of a larger purchase that I made. I'm like, man, I got to probably order a whole new part now. So I went online to the manufacturer, it was Spalding, and immediately, looked around, looked for a solution, couldn't find one, so I emailed them. And I got the best response from them. First of all, it was a Sunday afternoon. They got back to me the same day, that Sunday, wow. And they said, look, here's a tip, okay? We've seen this before. Take some WD-40, put it in between the 2 points that you join together, and then go into your yard in a grassy area, and you're gonna have to probably slam that unit down probably 20, 30 times, and it might come apart. Sure enough, I got to number 22, and it came apart. And so I looked at that and I thought, wow, here they are telling us to basically, throw their product around. So there's a couple points there. One, the responsiveness was amazing.
Yeah.
And secondly, just they came up with a creative solution. And at the end of the day, I was really, really happy and relieved that I could continue with that product without having to order a new one.
So those are best practices in terms of response time and coming up with a solution and being reactive to your customers. What are some other tips for creating a response strategy for digital and social media for building products brands when it comes to this new paradigm for customer service?
I think that's a great point. So I can think of 7 off the top of my head. Number 1, be organized, okay? Just like you have FAQs for your website and so forth, frequently asked questions, do the same with your social team, okay? Make sure they're absolutely prepared to answer the questions. So being organized is number 1. Secondly, prioritize the biggest issues, right? So not every issue is critical necessarily. Some are, and those critical issues will will spread like wildfire if they're not addressed right away. Number 3 is take the conversation offline, okay? A lot of people respond with emotion when something doesn't go right with their building products brand. The best thing you can do is review it, get back to the people, and then take it offline and deal with that person one-on-one to solve the problem.
So direct message versus actual posting, because it sort of
Absolutely.
takes the fuel out of the fire.
Yeah, or look up their customer contact if you have that and call them directly or email them directly. Number 4 is just make it easy. Make the whole process easy, okay? And that starts with make it really, really easy for a customer to find any customer service assistance online, okay? That should be a 1 or 2 step process. That's it. 5 is solve problems quickly. So show that responsiveness that I talked about with the Spalding and the basketball hoop example. 6, show empathy. Understand that, look, they're having a problem. Put yourself in their situation, and you'll be better to respond to their needs. And look, you're dealing with personalities at that point. Every personality is different, so you have to be able to adapt to that personality to really, really address their problems the best way. And then last is surprise customers once in a while. And here's what I mean by that. So I recently bought an Uni, or my wife actually bought me an Uni oven maker, okay, for a holiday gift, and was using it in the spring, and I couldn't get the thing to light. There was a little bit of wind, but it didn't matter. It should have lit. And so I called customer service, or actually I emailed them, okay, and they got back to me right away. And what's really, really cool about this experience is, number 1, they had a personal contact who was working with me the entire time. And when that person wasn't around, it got shifted to another person. So I was speaking to a person. The responses weren't like from some general mailbox. It was always from an individual at Uni. And we ended up getting through all the problems. We ended up saying, okay, well, look, I need to get a new product. Great, we're going to do this for you, send it back. Well, just when they agreed to have me get the new product and send the old one back, my mom unfortunately passed away. So I was out of contact with them for a little bit. Well, afterwards I picked it up and said, hey, listen, sorry I didn't respond right away. My mom passed away, We took care of the product, I received it, sent the old one back, and then about 2 days later, I get a knock on my door. I answer it, and here there are flowers, and they were from Uni saying my sympathies. And so that was a surprise that they didn't have to do. They already did an immense amount for me just from having really, really responsive customer service. And this just put the cherry on the cake right there. And it was an amazing experience. And I'm an Uni fan now forever.
Yeah, they showed empathy, and that it in some sense translates into brand loyalty because it's authentic, it's genuine.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, thanks for your insights today.
Sure thing, Jeff.
So here are some statistics that really put things into perspective when it comes to social media and how brands interact with their customers. Nearly 1 billion messages are exchanged every month between people and businesses on Facebook Messenger. And check this one out. One survey found that 64% of people would rather send a message than call a business. People just don't pick up the phone anymore. They get online, they get on social media, and they interact digitally. Those are the new rules of engagement. If you'd like to read more about this subject, check out the show notes of this episode. There's a link to an article on our blog on buildmarketing.com. Would you like us to cover a specific topic on Hubs and Drivers? Email us at info@hubsanddriverspodcast.com. That's info@hubsanddriverspodcast.com. We'd welcome your suggestions. We'd also welcome you to subscribe to Hubs and Drivers on your favorite podcast platform. That's all for this edition of Hubs and Drivers. I'm Jeff Donaldson. See you next time.